Today's wisdom that I've been pondering on, that I wanted to stew on and share and talk about, is that of transactional thinking. I was in a discussion last weekend about service and about why we do certain things of service, and the topic came up about how dangerous it can be when you are doing something kind with the expectation of appreciation. And over, this idea comes in all different areas of my life and in conversations about how that type of thinking is transactional. Meaning I give something with the expectation of receiving something. And in that transaction, I can be pleased when I get something that I like, but I can also be very frustrated if I don't get what I want. That attachment to an expectation. And the other thing that a transactional, the main thing, the problem with the transactional interaction, is that it is the parties of a transaction both want to exchange something of equal value. Transactional interactions is the opposite of gifting interactions. Gifting, the fundamental lesson from Burning Man, and that seeps into my life in so many places, the idea that if you can get out of a transactional mentality, you can get out of the +1 -1 equal sum of the equation, and instead get into a +1 +1, where you can feel good about what you're doing regardless of what happens on the other side. And then if they feel good, you can feel some good from their good. Their joy gives you joy. Your joy gives you joy. +1 +1. And it's very easy to slip out of that. For example, in the service example, you are going out to do good for the world, and you feel good about yourself, and you're doing some kind act, and then somebody takes a sandwich you give them and they throw it on the ground. Well, if you get too attached to the transaction, it's very frustrating. Actually, I don't know what circumstance would be where that wouldn't be frustrating, but it's certainly more frustrating if you let yourself fall into an expectation and let your joy be dependent on how the world responds to your actions. And that shift of taking your intentions away from what's out there to the self is incredibly freeing. It almost sounds cliche or common sense. You can't change the world, so you need to change yourself. Be the change you want to see in the world. And part of the reason why that's a powerful statement, a Gandhi quote, if you are new to this type of rambling, welcome to HugNation, if that's you. But it's important not just because it is the way that ripples are made, but it is also important because it frees you to let your power shine without the frustration of trying to change the world. And let me get away from service into other areas, because I think it maybe is even more common to fall into this transactional mentality in other parts of our life. For example, in our relationships. The whole concept of earning brownie points is a huge problem in relationships. If you are ever in a situation where you are trying to do something because you owe it to the other person, you are now in a transaction, and you have robbed yourself and the relationship of the possibility of a gifting +1 +1 joy. If I am, and I've talked to so many couples who fall into this, and I fall into it myself, where I was talking to someone who said, I pick up my kid because she makes the lunch, and she was starting to get on my case for not doing enough. And so all of a sudden, that is now a math equation where there's tally keeping and there's score keeping, and then this act of gifting and kindness of picking up the child becomes currency to get out of a hole where there's no joy. At best case scenario, you get yourself to 0. And so if you find yourself in that kind of scorekeeping mentality in your relationship, your romantic relationship especially, it can be a very slippery slope backwards. It's very hard to stop doing that, but try to be aware of it and try to find ways to acknowledge it, and then just, regardless of what they are doing, you try to just give, regardless of the equation, regardless of the score. Brownie points are poisonous. So instead, if you can find joy in the act itself, or actually I'd say, if it is a brownie point, you can't find joy in the act itself. If it can be a gift, then you can find joy, and hopefully it can be appreciated. And if it is appreciated, well, then that brownie point is a bonus dessert, but it's not what is owed in this equation. And this is true in the workplace as well. And one of the reasons why I want to talk about this today is because I noticed myself in struggling with this mindset. And it's very easy to conceptually say that, oh, see your gifts, in the workplace, give your gifts and do kindnesses. I mean, not even do kindness, do whatever your job is. Balance the accounting, create the PowerPoint and do it as a gift. But I think that's a really advanced level task and process. And so I mention it today to myself and a challenge to you. What happens if we don't do that is I've been struggling with lately, where I have this big list of tasks that I need to do for my team and for my work and for my job. And if I don't think of them as gifts, then it is this huge ladder of tasks that I need to do to get out of this hole. And so just as in a relationship where there's no joy in the kind deed, if I feel like it's getting me out of debt, as I do this task, I'm not giving to the team, I'm not giving to the project, I'm not projecting any goodness, I'm simply trying to get out of the well, rung by rung. And as I do it, I'm stuck. As I do this, I'm still in the dampness of the well as I do it. Whereas if I can get from a non-transactional place of just present, in this moment, do this task, I can find the joy in that gift, even if it's a PowerPoint. And part of this whole equation, the whole concept, is that idea of being present. Transactional has this history and future to it. And so if your history, you're in debt, then getting out of debt is robbed of the joy. Or if you're trying to get credit, it's robbed of the joy. But if you can do the act in the present of that moment, then you can allow your heart, yourself, your gift to be expressed in it. And this is such a hard thing, I think, to remember, but it can be so critical, because if you don't feel the joy of gifting in relationship, in charity, in work, then it requires a lot more effort and it requires a lot more energy to do each thing. And it's very easy to get to slip back into that feeling of attachment to what the results of your actions are. If you are doing the kind deed and picking up the daughter, and you think, I hope this gets me out, gets me some credit, then if it doesn't give you credit, then it even feels worse. But if you just think, oh, I am doing something nice on behalf of my child, on behalf of my partner, on behalf of my family, ta-da, win! If anybody appreciates it, that's bonus, ba-ba! If you give a sandwich to someone and you feel good about yourself, if they appreciate it, again, bonus. In the workplace, you're just doing, giving your talents to the project without attachment to if it's appreciated, if it makes the sale go through, if it, whatever, those things. Because the problem comes when you get too attached to the grand plan of how it's all supposed to work out, the attachment to outcome. You fall into the mind, and you start falling into the way you're thinking about how the way it should be. And then you're a slave. You are a prisoner to that outcome. Whereas, and this plays into a big part in what the conversation that started this all about was when in doing an acts of service or of charity and what brought me to the joy of gifting so early on was my early experiences with charity or service work was they were so depleting because I was so attached to the outcome of my good deeds. And so if I didn't see results that I wanted, it was frustrating. And to be honest and to be frank, the world is full of so much that needs help, so much that needs light, so much that needs a hand. And no matter how much light you shine, and no matter how much you help, no how much money you give or time or attention, at the end of your life, there's going to be tons of darkness still there. At the end of the day, there's going to be tons of darkness. There's just, if you get attached to trying to stop the problem, time to fix the problem, time to change the world, then every day at the end of your struggle of trying to fix things, you have failed, you have lost, At the end of every first Saturdays, there are people that are hungry all over San Diego. And the next month, we see the same people often. And if the goal of First Saturdays was to solve homelessness, I don't know if we could go on. But if the goal of First Saturdays is not to fix or solve or change the world, but is instead to figure out what is the kind act of this moment, which is extending attention, kindness, maybe a gift to this other person, then every act can actually be a victory, every step on the path, as long as my direction is known. That is how it becomes a gift. That is how it is not a transaction. I do not need the world to be changed in any ways. I simply need to act in a way that allows me to be the person that I want to be. Then I win. And I do it again, and I win. I win. I win. Win not in the you lose, win in the sense of like if you fall into the trap of life being a race and there's a finish line, I've got to make this promotion, I've got to close this sale, I've got to solve this evil woe in the world. But the kind acts, the gifting acts, the gifts to work, family, relationships, the world, if those kind acts are simply gifts, they will lead to a finish line of sorts. But you get to enjoy every step instead of going, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, I can't wait till I get to the finish line. You can be like, So I'm kind of belaboring the point, but it's because I need to hear it. I have been falling into a transactional thinking in several parts of my life, and in doing so, have not experienced the joy in each step and each day that I know is possible and that I have felt in the past. I've learned some wonderful things from my father that I wish everybody really understood, which is that joy of living a righteous path is the strongest, most profound, deepest joy. When you do the right thing, you get this reward. It may not be a Porsche, it may not be a big house, but it is this feeling of purpose, of being in alignment with your values. And that is the finish line that you cross in every step, as long as you are in alignment. And that alignment is non-transactional. That alignment is one of, what is the gift that I can give to this moment? Is it my attention? Is it my soft shoulder? Is it my skills for this project? Is it, we have that shift from transaction also tunes us into our abundance, because we realize how much we have to give in every moment, in every transaction or non-transaction. That is what fills our lives. Interaction, I should say, not transaction. Every interaction that we have with others and the world and ourselves. So thank you for this interaction. Hopefully it is not transactional. I have no expectation. I don't know if anyone is paying attention or listening, or if it's making sense. But I feel like by speaking this awareness, it feels in alignment. So as we finish up this broadcast and sink into a hug, I will have a feeling that, I was in tune with what my truth is, and I feel good about that. If you're listening and it resonates with you, well then, bonus brownies. But I'm not doing it for the brownie points. Have I mixed too many metaphors? All right, let's have a hug. Grab yourself by the shoulders. And in this present moment, we free ourselves from any sort of transactional thoughts and instead become aware of the gifts that we have to share. Our attention, our talents, our love, and become aware that we have the ability to share those things, to give those things without even consent on the other side of the interaction. We can drive our cars and project love into the other drivers. We can smile with our eyes at a cashier. We can give our best work for a project. We can do so many things without an expectation, but simply as an expression of our best self, of the person we want to be, of the world that we want reflected back to us. So let's take 3 breaths together and hold it a little bit at the top, in through the nose. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the love warriors, happy HugNation. Thank you for being you, for giving your gifts, for shining your light, for realigning yourself when you get off track, for forgiving others, forgiving yourself, for riding the roller coaster, sharing the joy, and being you. I love you. Namaste.